Imagine a platform where some of Britain's biggest stars have the opportunity to reflect and celebrate their biggest professional accomplishments in a lovely, relaxed, chatty space. Since 2016, Josh Barry's Beyond the Title has celebrated the great and good of entertainment from showbiz legends to rising stars and everyone in between, who have each provided an insight into their remarkable careers in the public eye. So join Josh and the team as another significant figure in entertainment shares their unique anecdotes and stories exclusively on Beyond the Title.
Beloved writer and comedian Harry Hill swapped a career in medicine for comedy in 1992 when he won the prestigious Perrier Award at the Edinburgh Fringe. Just a year later, Hill landed his own Radio 4 sketch series, Harry Hill's Fruit Corner, which featured guest stars including the legendary Ronnie Corbett and spawned a BBC Two spin-off series, Harry Hill's Fruit Fancies. Yet a move to Channel 4 in 1997 for his self-titled sketch show would set the foundation for the rest of his career as he offered platforms to TV newcomer Al Murray and cult hero Burt Kwock. In October 2001, Hill moved to ITV to front the show that arguably defined his career. Harry Hill's TV Burp took an irreverent and frequently bizarre glimpse at that week's television output and found the funny in the most extraordinary TV moments. While at ITV, Harry lent his voice to the home video public access show You've Been Framed until 2022. More recently, Harry returned to Channel 4 as the face of Junior Bake Off and has written 2 stage plays. I caught up with one of the most original characters in British comedy to talk heroes, burps, and his recollection on his life in comedy. Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Hill. There we go. So, Harry, welcome to Beyond the Title. Throughout history, British comedy characters have always cultivated a unique image, whether it was Max Wall with his funny walk, Tommy Cooper and his fez, or Eric Morecambe and his glasses. So what's the story behind the big collars?
Well, it's not really any story other than I had a collar. I had a shirt with a big collar that I liked. I used to buy my clothes from Oxfam. Was it in the 90s? And in the 90s, the clothes you could buy at Oxfam was probably from the 70s. So there were those sort of things. And I just had one, and I wore it because I liked it. And people other comics would say to me, "Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. You should keep that." So it was just a bit of luck. And then when I thought, "Oh yeah, I'll keep that." So I only had one. So then I had them made with bigger collars. Which cost me a bit of money, but it was sort of worth it. Yeah, it's a weird thing that the people really latched onto it. Because I don't know. I think it's something about me having a bald head and a big collar. It just sort of frames it quite nicely. But
a bit like an egg.
A bit like an egg. Yeah. Thanks for that.
And did you have any sort of comedy heroes growing up at all?
Yeah, all those people that you mentioned, Tommy Cooper, Max, I really liked, when I was like, I don't know, before I was a teenager, I used to like all those guys. So, like Walker and Wise and the Two Ronnies. It was just stuff that was on. And then I got into Monty Python, Spike Milligan, a bit of Spike Milligan. And then there was like the kind of new guys on the block, Alexi Sale and, French and Saunders and Rick and Aid. And then when I came to London, I went to medical school in Tooting. I used to go and see comedians then. So I would go and see Joe Brand, in clubs.
Yeah.
I'd go and see Joe Brand and Jack D and Lee Evans and, people like that who were around. Yeah, so, I just liked anyone that was funny, really. Although my comedy is quite silly, I didn't just like those sort of comics. I actually really like sort of deadpan comics, people that, people like Jack D and, Stuart Lee was a big one.
Of Spike. He says you remind him of Spike.
Oh, well, maybe, yeah. I mean, I borrowed a bit of his kind of silliness, yeah, yeah. But I mean, he was a one-off, wasn't he? Really.
Were there any of those sort of that you've named there that you, like you say, took anything from? And
Yeah, all of them in some way or another. You never really know what you're. I mean, you don't want to copy people, but you kind of just absorb it, don't you? Or I mean, one of the big the tricky things about being a comedian, you can write funny jokes, and some people can, but that's not enough.
Yeah.
You got to have funny jokes, but you've got to sort of work out what your kind of attitude is, or people call it what your voice is. I mean, it's a bit pretentious, but I mean, essentially that's it. What your kind of character is, because you have to. It sort of has to be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that people when you come on, people know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think Radio 4 remains a favourite stepping stone for comedy writers and performers?
Well, because it's cheap. It's cheap to make radio shows. I mean, when I started, you'd write these ideas down, and all it would involve is, I remember we had a thing called the Maniac Pony. So that was just a sound effect of a pony going crazy. And I'd say, oh, it's the Maniac Pony, and you'd hear this sound effect. And but if you did it for TV, obviously you'd have to you'd actually have to train a pony to behave in a maniacal way. And so it was, I think that's the main thing, is that they don't have. As soon as you've got people having to spend money on something, they all start worrying about, is this going to be popular? Are we doing the right thing here? What about this? What about people start chipping in with ideas, and it sort of dilutes it. So I think, and also radio was kind of a low profile thing to do. You could do it and it wouldn't get, if it wasn't particularly good, you wouldn't get sort of dragged over the coals over it.
Yeah.
In the press or whatever. So it's slightly like, I mean, the one that everyone started on when I was a, comic was Weekending, which is a topical weekly comedy show, and anyone could write jokes. Anyone could send in their jokes, and in those days you had to fax them in,
Right.
or you could go around and drop them off. And when I was a doctor, I used to get in early to the hospital because you weren't allowed to use the fax machine. In those days, most people didn't have a fax machine at home. You had to go to the post office, which sounds crazy. Or, like a hospital would have one. So I'd get in early and illegally fax my sketches to Radio 4. That was, yeah. And that was a great opportunity, because it meant that you wouldn't necessarily get a lot on, but you would you get practice.
Yeah. We've spoken to a lot of people that were started off on Weekender. Why do you think that was so influential for so many people?
Weekending. Well, it was just that anyone could enter it. So they used to have a meeting. I think it was a Wednesday or something. Anyone could go in off the street, just walk into this office, BBC office by Broadcasting House. Anyone could walk in. And I mean, and there were some very odd people. People who were just in there to get out off the street, I think. It's mainly blokes, kind of nerdy blokes. And you got paid. If your joke got on, you got paid. And then if you got a lot on, you'd get commission. So that it made the difference to me between being able to not do doctoring because I was getting 100 quid a week from weekending.
Right.
Which in 1990, whatever it was, 1 or 2 or something, that was sort of covered your living expenses. And also those guys, often the radio producers would then say, "Oh, do you want to do something else?" You kind of develop a relationship with these. You just learn the sort of ropes, and then those guys would often go. I mean, the producer that got me on board, he now produces. He went off and produced Graham Norton's show. So often they would get jobs in TV, and sometimes you'd go with them, or it's like it's all about that. I mean, a lot of life is about and work is about people, relationships with people, really, because no matter how good you are or how talented you are, you sort of have to get on with people.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think that still happens now?
Well, there isn't that show now, is there?
No.
I mean, they cut it. I mean, the show itself is never very good, but what was great about it was it did give people a chance. I don't know what how you'd go on now. Maybe you, don't know. Maybe you could send in jokes to, I don't know, dead ringers, and there are those topical shows, but I don't know quite how it works. I mean, I think in the end, because with the sort of changing world and sort of security risks, they couldn't really let people in off the street. I mean, not that anyone did anything.
Yeah.
But I suppose they saw that as a risk. I think that's probably why they stopped it. But I mean, now it would be very easy to do because you could just email your jokes.
It was on Harry Hill's Fruit Corner that you got to work with one of the legendary figures in comedy. Why do you think new comedy stars always wanted to work with Ronnie Corbett?
Well, he was very open to it. He was a supporter of new comics. I mean, some old comics saw us lot as coming along and taking all their work. And so they weren't very generous to us. I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But Ronnie was very open to it. And, he had a house outside Edinburgh. And so he would often, every summer, he'd go up there, spend the summer up there, and he'd pop into Edinburgh and go and see some shows. So he came, that's the first time I met him, was he came to see a show I was doing up there. And he would go and see, I remember he went to see Alan Davis, and he went and saw all sorts of people. And it was a real buzz, it was very exciting if he was in. Apart from anything, because his laugh was so distinctive, everyone was... and so, yeah, he was open to it. He wasn't someone that was just like, had an eye on how much he was being paid, because, I mean, you never got paid much to do radio. But he was sort of... he was interested, basically, yeah.
Wait. And he was
Josh was lucky enough to know Barry Cryer, and
Oh, yeah.
he said
Barry was great.
he was very good with the new generation of comics wanting them to come through and everything.
Yeah, he was. Well, I think mostly with comics, doesn't matter when you were, working, or when you were born. We're all sort of cut from the same cloth, because there aren't really any shortcuts. We've all had to try the stuff out in clubs, have good nights, bad nights, and I think we all kind of recognize that in each other. And that also, if you're a comedian, you're a fan of comedy. So if someone's got a good joke, you might wish that you'd come up with a joke, but also you really appreciate the kind of skill that went into it.
Yeah. How did you feel making the transition from radio to TV? And what advantages are there for a comedian who is able to think visually?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted a TV show.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly want to do a radio show, but that seemed the way in. But for a long time, they didn't. No one was interested. I mean, largely what I like about, a lot of my act is visual.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was keen to do it. And I was a big fan of it. I grew up watching in the 70s when 70s and 80s when I grew up. Most comics had their own show, so it was the sort of the thing. So that's what I thought was the aim. So I mean, like the Benny Hill show, the Ken Dodd show, the Tommy Cooper show, all which were basically sketch shows and a bit of stand up, or sometimes a bit of music. So I was dead keen, and I had lots of ideas for it. So I didn't struggle with that progression particularly. I mean, I was lucky in that I had an old director who had produced and directed some of the Two Ronnie stuff. So he was very old school. So he kind of taught me the ropes in a way I probably wouldn't have got off a younger person, because he made me learn how to use the cameras. I had lots of experience. I mean, it wasn't any plan. It was just he was the only one that was available.
Yeah. Who was that? The
Robin Nash, his name was.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah, Top of the Pops. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, he did Top of the Pops and lots of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and when I worked with him, he was probably in his 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another important comedy rite of passage is the Edinburgh Fringe. How significant was winning the Perrier Award in 1992?
Yeah, well, it gave me a big boost. I didn't win the Perrier Award, just to be clear. I won the Best Newcomer Award. So there wasn't a Best Newcomer Award prior to that. 1992, they said, I think they felt that I'd done a lot of work and I should get something. So there wasn't an award. It was a surprise.
Right.
I went along they told me to go along to the awards ceremony. They didn't say why. There wasn't like a list of nominees or anything.
Yeah.
So they gave Steve Coogan the Perrier Award. Then they said, oh, yeah, there's another one we want to do. It's Best Newcomer. And it was me. So it was a real surprise. And there wasn't any of that, kind of anxiety. Have I won? Have I not won? I didn't have any. I just I didn't. So, yeah, it was thrilling. And the weird thing was that I only went up for 2 weeks. And actually, that Saturday night, I got the Newcomer Award. And that was the last night of my show. So what was brilliant was that no one could come and see it. So everyone was like, what is this show?
Yeah.
What is this fuss about? Which sort of helped. So I didn't have to live up to their expectations. But I mean, the other thing is, and this is the flip side of it, the next year I went up and I had a terrible time. I got really bad reviews because everyone came expecting sort of, something that I couldn't really meet. Even though it's a better show in my view, but there we are. That's life. And then that's a career, ever since. You do, it's, I mean, it's a cliche, but it's a roller coaster. It's up and down, round and round.
Yeah. Oh, there is what you say, and it's you. So it go again. Yeah.
Do you think that's the downfall of the Edinburgh Fringe, where it's got such a big reputation that if you're off it a little bit, it could go against you in the rest of your career? Or
I think whatever you do, that's sort of, you're only as good as your last thing in some ways. Yeah, I mean, what was good about the Edinburgh Festival for me when that year in 92 was I I hadn't really ever done 2 weeks of a show back to back. You know, I was sort of doing 2 or 3 gigs a week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a big part of any job, if you're a welder or a, you know, a undertaker or a comedian, is just experience.
Yeah.
Getting the hours in, you know, and that was what was so hard starting out, was that no one will book you.
Mm.
You know, you're desperate to do it. You've got all these ideas, and you phone them up, no one would return your calls. And this was just to do 5 minutes in a club for nothing, you know. So that was the tough thing, was just getting the stage time. Yeah.
In 1999, you wrote your one-man show, First Class Scant. Looking back, how pivotal was this tour in the direction of your career?
I don't know. I mean, the touring, I don't know about the touring. I mean, in those days, what made a difference was being on TV.
Mm.
And if you went touring, you sort of disappeared. As far as the TV people were concerned, they were thinking you just drop off their radar. They just think, oh, where have you been for 6 months? But actually, it was TV. The stuff that really got me off the ground was the a little bit of TV, you know, the spots on shows, and that would make a big difference to people coming to the tours.
Yeah. That was the first show Josh ever saw.
Oh, First Class Stamp, right? Yeah, and Scamp in '99. Where was that? At was it Southampton? Someone said. Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. That was about 4 years before I was born, so
Okay.
you're the best, yeah. But... Took his granddad, he didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah, there was a bit of that. I mean, often I would get, particularly in the early days, I would go, you know, there'd be people who had seen me before and then there are other people who'd been dragged along by their, you know, partner or their grandson. And they'd be sitting there like arms folded thinking, what the hell's going on? But they didn't come again. And the people that liked it told other people, and they, you know, it was sort of built up a bit like that. But yeah, there were some bad nights, believe me. Yeah. Oh yeah.
From its very inception, TV has always had the ability to look in on itself and make it the subject of lampoon. Still don't know what that word means, but what is it about the TV landscape of the new millennium that encouraged you to create a new approach to television satire?
Well, really, it was. I just did for some reason, Gary Bushell. Remember, he used to write the TV page in the Sun. He liked me, you know, and mostly at that time he didn't like new comedians. He used to go on about Jim Davis, still does, Jim Davis and the old comics. But he took me under his wing, I suppose, and he went on holiday and he said he nominated me to write his column, his TV column. So I took it quite seriously, and I watched a lot of TV shows and made a lot of jokes about it. And I did it a couple of times, and I thought it was funny, and I thought, oh, maybe there's a TV show in this. And at the time, I'd made a show for ITV, which they didn't really like. And so they said, oh, well, why don't you ever go at this idea? Sort of. Cut a long story short. So we made a pilot for it, and it seemed, I mean, the difficulty as a comic is you can't really have a career doing your stand-up on TV. You can get going that way, but you can never turn over enough material, really. Yeah. Whoever you are. I don't care if you're, Eddie Izzard or, some of these people that really turn over a lot.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. And so what you need is a way to be funny in the same way, but not use up material.
Yeah.
So what was brilliant about TV was there was a new load of TV every week to feed off,
Yeah.
right? Just like, news is another one, obviously. Sport is another one.
Yeah.
I don't know what I mean, game shows, quiz shows, those sort of things. But I was never particularly interested in those. And so it just worked out. Yeah. And we kind of, and I say we because it wasn't just me, it was a whole bunch of us writers. We worked out a way of using clips, cutting them really tight and often stealing them, actually. We didn't get permission a lot of the time. Yeah, so it was good. And because no one else had done it really in that way, it seemed fresh.
When speaking with friend of the podcast, David Quantick, about TV Burp, he told me that a lot of time was taken in debating and analysing the TV shows that would be mentioned in that week's episode. So how important was it to surround yourself with like-minded people who would instantly know what you would be able to hook onto and create the comedy?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely important. And we went through a lot of different people. Dave Gorman wrote for it for a bit, and Richard Herring lasted about a week. It's like most people couldn't actually face watching TV all day. So I ended up with this team: David Quantick, Brendan Gilhooly, Paul Hawksby, Dan Mann, who we all were really passionate about the show, and we put the hours in.
Yeah.
And we were all really dedicated to making it the best we could, and to try not to repeat ourselves. I mean, I think we did start repeating ourselves a bit, but so they were. What was good about them was they were really hard on me. They wouldn't let me. You know what I mean? Sometimes they might, you might have a different group of writers who just say, "Oh, it's Harry," it's do what he wants. But they were tough on me, and also I was tough on them. And we had a really good producer, Spencer, who was tough on all of us. Yeah, he was quite blunt.
Yeah.
At times, and and there were times I just really hated him.
Did you have anyone that ever got offended?
I think Alan Sugar didn't really like it. I used to get my son Gary dressed up. He didn't like. He was a bit humorless. Jamie Oliver got really annoyed once because I perhaps went a bit far on one of his shows, but mainly people quite liked it. And actually, by the end, EastEnders was sort of putting in references to me. A couple of times they put a reference. Barbara Windsor, I remember saying once, "That's just the sort of thing Harry Hill would say," trying to get clips on.
Yeah.
But we never responded to that. We always thought, "Oh no, we're not going to, we're not going to respond. We're going to be above it." So. Yeah.
In 2021, Britain lost a comedy heavyweight. What are your defining memories of Sean Locke?
Oh, Sean. Well, we were. We were friends in the 90s. Those early days, we did he was up in Edinburgh doing his show, and I was up doing mine, and we shared a flat a couple of years running. So that's where I got to know him, I guess. We used to hang out a bit, and then the problem with having success in some ways, if you're not careful, is that I got some success, and then you go off and you don't see the other people. So I used to see him, people like him and Alan Davis, Bill Bailey, Stuart, Al Murray, in the clubs. We just like, and there was a club that we all do, which was New Material. That we all go and do 5 minutes, and we'd all have a pizza after, and it was like a social. There's a big social aspect to it. Yeah. But then when you get some success, you get hived off. So you're touring around on your own,
yeah,
or maybe with a support act. and you lose touch a bit. So, I mean, we did lose touch a bit. I would bump into him every now and then. You know, I remember when I was doing TV Burp, he was filming 8 out of 10 Cats. So, you know, I'd bump into him in the corridor and we'd catch up, or I'd phone him up and we'd have a good chat. And we'd always just fall back into it. But then when he got ill, he called me up. Actually, got him to do a benefit, and he called me up and said he couldn't do it and said he was ill. I said, oh, you know, I made some joke. And he said, oh, no, you know, it's bad. And so after that, I made more of an effort. So, you know, often he'd go up, you know, he lived in North London, I'm in South London. He'd go for an appointment to the, you know, doctors in town. And he'd call me if he was feeling well enough. He'd call me and say, I'm up in town, do you want to meet up? So I would always, if he asked me, I'd always kind of drop everything and go, just because. And actually, we got really close those last few years. And I kind of appreciated what he was, you know, and what he was to me was, he was like you say, a heavyweight, and not just a comedy heavyweight. I mean, he was obviously a brilliant comedian, and an original thinker, but he was really good company, interesting, you know, interesting man. He didn't, you know, he left school at 16, but he was very smart, you know, far, just sort of person that perhaps school failed, but he had opinions on everything and was very straight with you. You know, if he thought you weren't, if something wasn't funny, he would just tell you. You know, it's like we didn't pull his punches. You know, he's interested in art and things. So more often we would meet up and go to an art exhibition, go and get some lunch, and he liked his food. So yeah, I mean, he's yes, sadly missed. I mean, there's not really anyone like him who really. I mean, there are a few, but he would really push it. Somehow got away with it.
Hey. Oh.
Some of the moments from 8 out of 10 Cats are hilarious. Some of the stuff he's done on there is,
Yeah, I mean, it's the best thing on it.
Yeah. It feels, it almost feels wrong, not wrong, but it feels a bit odd now watching it, and it's him and.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore. I think they should. I think they should have cancelled it, or at least I think they should have that chair, that Sean's old chair. They should have it as Sean's chair. You know, they should call it Sean. Who's Sean Locke this week? You know, I think that's what they should do. You know, they should give him some nod because. But you know, I guess it's, you know.
Yeah.
It's a successful show, and money's money. But
yeah,
I don't do it. I mean, I never did. I only did it. He said to me, I used to get asked to do it, and I always said no, because it had to go all the way to Manchester to record. And he said, well, you should do it. I said, I don't know. He said, it's the easiest money you'll ever earn. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go up because he's there. You know, it's time to spend a bit of time with him.
Yeah.
So I only ever did it twice. I did it once, and then I did it the last time he did it, I think, or one of the last times. You know, and actually he was quite ill. And actually that was in COVID. You know, so there was no audience.
Okay.
And he was a bit he was a bit in a bit of a bad mood. He had a bit of an argument with Jimmy. Yeah.
One of the things that from like all the documentaries and stuff that have come out since of comedians telling their memories was that it was like the best feeling in the world to make him laugh. When you make him laugh, it's like, was that from your point of view like the best thing in the world, just to
because you knew he was such a hard ass,
you
know, and you knew he wouldn't fake it, and it's an odd thing. You did want to please him, he was because he was kind of just very cool. He was just a very cool bloke. You know, some people are, you know, they just got something about them which you want to be around. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, it's curious, really. I mean, not everyone. He didn't get on with everyone, you know, because he was difficult. You know, I mean, there's no two ways about it. He was quite a difficult bloke. You know, if he didn't want to, he wouldn't just toe the line. And I think that's what a lot of us admired about him, was that he just, you know, he would call out that, you know, bullshit. And there's a lot of it in show business, believe me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 5, 2, 1. He's dead. Right. God. You one day what
When Josh spoke to Joe Wilkinson, he said people of his generation saw Sean as a hero. When they got to work with him, they couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, we were friends, so it's slightly different, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I buy that.
Reality TV is a subject that divides opinion. What made you decide to explore the X Factor as a stage show?
Oh, well, I mean, it was just, to be honest, I just thought it would make me rich. I mean, I'm someone who, you know, I have a lot of ideas, and most of the time I don't act on them. I mean, I used to act on them more. And I started a ball rolling, basically, that I was surprised started rolling, and then it just became like really good fun. But at the heart of it was, I was thinking, crikey, if you could get 80, you know, they told me that X Factor was in 86 different countries. And I thought, crikey, if this could work, you know, this musical could be all around the world, and I could be just getting, the letterbox would be ringing off the hook with checks coming through. So that's why, really. And it was just it just seemed funny to me. You know, and then suddenly I'm in Simon Cowell's office with my friend Steve, and we're pitching this idea. And he's liking it. And at the end of this thing, he goes, it's a yes from me. You know, it was like a joke, you know. It was, yeah. I mean, it was the most fun I've ever had, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
People always think it's going to be TV Burp that I enjoyed, but actually it was a lot of the other things were a lot more fun. I mean, the TV Burp was a bit of a slog, to be honest, you know. But
Would it ever work on? Ever work on TV?
well, I don't think no one has any interest in doing anything with it. So I don't think musicals really work on TV, but I think it's sort of, you know, past its sell by already. X Factor, sort of, if I'm frank. For a long time, I tried to get it back off the ground, but we nearly got it off the ground, and COVID came in. But I've given up now. I mean, you know, I'm quite happy just to have my memories of it.
Now, this next question, I don't have a clue what it means, but Josh said you would. So
Okay.
you've got to have a system. Marlon Brando, Suzanne
Dando. Yeah.
What's your favourite system?
Well, it's stalactites and stalagmites. Stalactites, stalagmites. Elon Musk, Donald Tusk. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know why that was funny, but it was, wasn't it? Josh. You know.
Yeah. Looking back at your career, what would you say your proudest achievement is?
Well, I don't know really. I mean, they were all fun, weren't they? I mean, you know, I think what was good probably was TV Burp, you know, getting that kind of sense of humor, which wasn't really obviously ITV. You know, when I started, everyone used to say I was a cult comic, that, you know, I should be on Channel 4, BBC 2. And what was kind of good was proving people wrong about that.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, walking to near him, I see some of what you say for
Why do you think ITV don't have such a reputation for comedy?
Well, I think they don't like risk. They don't like taking risks. It's because commercial TV, they got to make money, or they feel like they have. So they don't really develop anything. You know, they're scared to develop anything new or risky. So, you know, I think that's the reason, fundamentally. And, you know, comedy is never right the first time. You know, I mean, history is littered with, you know, most comedy things that, you know, you just sort of identify a spark in it, and you think, okay, well, they'll get it right, you know.
Yeah.
And actually, it took us, you know, 2 or 3 series to get TV Burt right, and that was someone wasn't really keeping an eye on us, so somehow we managed to get away with that. But I mean, it could easily have been cancelled after the first season. It would be now. But the beauty of comedy is that, you know, if you get it right, you know, if you actually back something and you get it right, then it can run for a long time. You know, it ran for 10 years, or, you know, it was on like 20 weeks of the year or something in its heyday. So, and it's cheap to make compared to drama. You know, comedy is really cheap to, you know, TV World was a cheap show to make. So, you know, and it's not just ITV. I think a lot of, you know, the BBC One is very, you know, I think it's, the danger is it all becomes a bit bland. And if you look at the Saturday night schedules now, it's celebrity quiz show, celebrity quiz show, celebrity quiz show, really. And which are, you know, can be really funny. There's some really funny ones, aren't there? But you kind of think, well, really?
Yeah.
You know. And I also think that it should be, you know, there's a lot of really good, I mean, I go around the clubs trying stuff out, and there's some really, really funny original people on and around, you know, and they should be on TV in a way, you know. You used to get on TV, I was in my kind of 30s, and now people aren't getting on till in the sort of 40s. And by the time you're 40, most people have had to sort of bring up a family, and,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people will end up giving it up. But the good news is that, you know, what's happening is that it's never been easier to make TV shows, so you can make stuff yourself and you can put it on YouTube, and you can, because often it's not really about production values with sort of makeup and lights, and, you know, it's actually about ideas.
it breaks as more on the
Would TV Burp ever work on the BBC, do you think?
No, because they wouldn't have let us steal the clips from other shows, and they would have been on our backs about what we were saying, probably. I mean, ITV, they didn't, I think at the time it was successful, and they couldn't really give us any ideas. I mean, actually, they did give us an idea, which was a bad idea. For one series, they said they wanted celebrities to say, "Oh, Harry, have you noticed how, you know, the pub car park in Emmerdale looks like a man's face or something. All right. So they wanted, ITV, BBC now are obsessed with sort of celebrities. And
Yeah.
so I didn't want to do it, but I sort of had to. So I let them do it. And it wasn't funny because they haven't got, they didn't have good timing, comedy timing. And so after a couple of weeks, we just dropped it and never mentioned it. And they never mentioned it again. I mean, all they're interested is in viewing figures. And as long as those were good, we were safe, Yeah.
So finally, what's next for Harry Hill? Have you got anything coming up to look forward to?
A rest. I've just finished a big tour. Yeah, I am doing something. I've got some things I'm working on, some ideas I'm developing. Kind of just wrestling with the whole sort of social media thing and YouTube and stuff. So I'm kind of developing some ideas for that. And whether anything will come of them, I don't know. But and I've got this podcast which I've let go because I had the tour and I couldn't really keep up with it. So at some point I've got to work out how to do that. And I'm thinking I might develop it as a sort of more of a YouTube thing. But yeah, so I've got just done. The only TV I do really is Junior Bake Off regularly. So I've just done that in the summer, and that's back in January. And I dare say I'll pop up on the odd show here and there.
Yeah. What a great way to end.
Thank you. Nice talking to you, Josh. We have met before, right?
Well, I jumped in my class or hang your show.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't think you met, but he came to your show. So
Okay. I spotted you in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time. That was
Really nice talking to you. Have a good weekend. Nearly there, aren't we? Have a good weekend. Cheers. Bye-bye.
We'll let you know when it's up. Yeah.
Yeah, do. And I'll promote it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you very much to our wonderful guest for being the subject of another Beyond the Title episode. If you like this, why not browse the website and see if there's anything else you like? We're now on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. Everywhere, quite frankly. Don't forget to like our Facebook page to receive updates on forthcoming interviews, and please do give this podcast a little share. Not in a shoop-shoop song kind of way, you understand, although that's probably quite welcome. Thanks again. Hopefully see you next time. From all of us here, goodbye.